Hey everybody, welcome back to another video here at Fisherman's Warehouse. I'm joined today by Bobby Barrick, one of the legends of the Delta and just a bass fishing legend in general. So today we're going to be talking about locating shallow water bass with a square bill style crankbait. Today we've got the Bill Lewis SB57. It's one of my personal favorites. I know you've got some experience with it yourself, of course. One of the key things about this bait, in my perspective, is just the overall bill of this thing. It's got the really nice little coffin style bill, allows it to come through cover really well, and it comes in some phenomenal colors. But I know you've got all the nitty gritty stuff that you want to dive into, and I'm going to hand the floor over to you so you can just go wherever you want with this.
You keep talking about the whole bass thing, but we're going to talk about crappie too, right?
That works too. Yeah, we're going to talk about crappie. Maybe, well, we can talk about it in this video, but...
Double K.
Okay.
Crappie King. Crappie King. Okay. But we will talk about some shallow water crank. I'm a shallow water guy. You're a finesse guy. You do it all. I mean, when you're out here, you're a Folsom guy. You're Folsom. You're Clear Lake. You're Berryessa. You're Pedro. You're Pardee. You're the... You got
wherever the tournament trail takes me, I'm trying to catch them.
Absolutely. Columbia River, all that stuff. So... you know, talking about places like that, you're talking about all the places that we just mentioned. You're talking about Northern California, you're talking about West Coast, but there's a lot of other fisheries in the United States that are just like that. They got super clear water, and then there's some stained water someplace, whether it's man-made stained water, when you let the boat traffic get going, pull some of that dirt off the bank, creates that mud line. That's what we're waiting for.
Or when you had a winter like we had last year where it was just, everything was blown out. I mean, we had real dirty water last year for the first time, and since I feel like I started fishing, I mean, everywhere you went, you could find some stained water in a lake and get on some sort of a reaction bite, which was interesting for out here.
Absolutely. And the thing that's strange about last year in California is it was always 1986, 96, 06, and 16 were flood years. And nobody remembers 16. They were going to evacuate Oroville. I mean, there was too much water. The dam was blowing out. The emergency spillway. Oh my God, where'd all this water come? And then in 2018, you go, well, we've been in a drought for 10 years. Nobody can remember what happened to you. Anyway, so in situations like that, I remember fishing and combating those conditions when they put a 5-mile-an-hour speed limit on the Delta because there was so much water, can't have boat wakes, didn't want to wash out the levees, but that's when actually it was a spinnerbait and a shallow running crankbait that I did a lot of my searching with, because now there's so much water, so much new water, and I need to eliminate as much of this as possible. And the toughest part that we can't get into it would take me a week to explain it. You've got an hour to figure out what's going on during the course of the day. You've got an hour. If you go fishing for 9 hours, you've got an hour to learn something. The other 7 hours plus is all fool's gold. You're going to be misled. It's a little trinkets here and there. You're going to be running around chasing a bunch of little shiny objects that disappear. You're only going to get an hour to really figure out something that you can expand on and take into your next trip when you come out. And so that's why this kind of stuff, you've got to have a bait this has value, because it allows you to eliminate water in the shortest period of time and attract fish that are quality fish, not pound and a half, pound and a quarter. You can catch pound and a half, pound and a quarter fish with square bill crankbait, especially the SB57 and the other one, the ATV 10, 15, 20, 25. I love those. They're a little bit thicker, they're a little bit wider body, but that kind of thing. Again, when I'm using these guys right here, I like that 15-pound line. 15 pound. This bait right here goes 3 to 4 feet. With 15-pound, I can get a true 3.5 feet at bass fishing tempo. If I got a Minn Kota trolling motor and I've got my trolling motor on about 30, and with the angle of the cast that I'm going to make, with the distance of the cast that I'm going to make, realistically, I'm going to get that thing into 3. I don't care if it says 4. The way that I'm going to fish, the way that most fishermen are going to fish, I'm going to get this thing into 3.5. Okay? Period. If I want to stop my boat, put some 12-pound test on my crankbait rod, throw out there, I can get this thing into 4.5. But I got to have some room, and I got to stop the momentum of my boat. That's not why I'm throwing this. I'm throwing this so that I can move and cover, and I can stay in that. Realistically, 1 to 3.5, 1 to 3.5, 1 to 3.5, 1 to 3.5. Now I'm dealing with slopes. Do I want to deal with 20-degree slopes, 45-degree slopes, or whatever? I mean, that's going to come into play. It's going to be different parts of the tide if you're dealing with the Delta. All that kind of stuff comes into play. Regions of the Delta, time of year, which way's the wind blowing, where's the water, dirty water coming from, where's the clear. If I got some dirty water situations, thank you, Mark Daniels. Mark turned me on to this. This is Mark Daniels crankbait, right? Western boy, California boy. He was one of my Delta nemesises, if I said that right.
Nemesis.
Yeah,
Something like that.
there for a little bit. He came on quick and then he disappeared, and he left us in the dust. But and Mark went and did the national thing. But this is Mark's crankbait, and I never was a real super fan of chartreuse and black. But Mark told me that, again, at an iCast show, probably 5 or 6 years ago, he goes, Bobby, you ever thrown the chartreuse shad? I said, no, not really. He goes, I know you're in Texas now. He goes, that's a big, big color in Texas. We always threw black and chartreuse spinnerbaits. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about big high water on the Delta, white slough on the islands. They were all flooded. You could just see about this much of the tules. Normally January you can see 7 feet of tules, but you could only see about that much of the tules, and that water was dirty. And we threw double chartreuse, black skirt with a little bit of chartreuse. It should have clicked then. But Daniels told me about this guy right here, this color. And since that time, I have caught so many good fish with this SB57, this Bill Lewis SB57. Again, 15-pound. I love the 15-pound mono. I love mono with this. I use a light, medium heavy, a medium heavy graphite rod. If you're at Folsom, if you're at Shasta, if you're at Orville, if you're at Berryessa, and you're in those open areas, if you're in north end of Clear Lake and you're not around the docks, you can use some 12. Mm-hmm. You can use some 10. 10-pound test will get this thing almost 5 feet deep, 4.5 on 10. I don't want to play that game. On Berryessa, on Pardee or something, I can't. If I got my smallmouth that are spawning in that little zone, and I want to bring that little crawdad, that little Ozark craw color right there, just right through those little spawning zones, let's do that. But I know I'm all over the place right now, but you got to have a crawdad. Again, moral of the story, crawdad pattern, got to have a version of shad. And this guy right here, for those, if you get high water year again, mm-hmm. you guys got to pull this thing out. Even, I'm talking about Shasta. You go to Shasta, you go up the McLeod, you go up the pit, and you got that dirty red clay water coming in, Orville, some of the creeks. You get that dirty clay water coming in. Instead of throwing that chartreuse spinnerbait up there, try throwing this guy up in there. I'm talking about that deep. Don't fish any deep. From that
you got to
to that.
Stop spilling all the secrets. I'm going to Shasta in a couple of weeks.
Oh well, hopefully it's raining. You're going to have a whole bunch of company in the back of them dirty creeks. But I would throw a spinnerbait too, of course. But this guy right here, I guarantee you, the guys are going to be throwing the. You can maintain depth with this guy right here, and you can keep it in contact with the bottom. A lot of times in that dirty water where I'm talking about, you can't see down, you can't see this far. That's why that bright chartreuse, that neon, that right there, it just says, hey, I'm here. And this guy right here, when you can get down, and whenever that water is that dirty, you have got to fish as shallow as you possibly can. And you're going to catch some of these fish and you're going to say, I can't believe I didn't see that fish's back when I threw. I mean, that fish was so shallow. Anyway, that's really, really cool stuff. But give that shallow square bill a shot. And one more thing. Afternoons, understanding shad pattern. Now, this is something that I have learned. I didn't learn this until, mid 2000s. How shallow shad will get in the afternoon. And it helped my striper thing so much, which in turn helped my black bass thing. I would be keyed in with a rip bait. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Jerk baits. Where'd our jerk baits go? We're going to talk about that in a second. Understanding shad movement. They were over here until 10, 11, 12 o'clock. Something changed. Now they're not out here. Where are they at? They're in the dirt. Water temperature warmed up 1-2 clicks. They went and got in the dirt. You take this guy right here, Clear Lake, September, October, November, right? Days are starting to get longer, getting ready to get into time change. And it's like the water's clear, a lot of days, no wind. It's really clear. The bite's tough. Oh my gosh, this sucks. But in the afternoon, you'll notice that wind picks up a little bit. That wind will pick up to 6, 7, 8, 9 miles an hour. You go get as shallow as you possibly can. You throw something like this right here, you get you a 7-to-5 gear ratio reel, and you just start covering water like that and just bring it and cover it, because those fish just moved up and they're looking for shad, or they know the shad are there. The wind has put them there. It's created some current. You're going to be fishing into the wind, kind of uncomfortable. You're throwing this relatively small crankbait into the wind, but that's okay. You're going to start to have some success, and you're going to stay with it. If you turn around and fish upstream, the wind is coming out of the west, so you've got to be going east towards west. If you go west fishing east, you're going to get 50% of the bites, and you're never going to catch the quality fish that you're looking for. Good fish understand which direction the bait needs to be coming in, and the bait will almost always move downstream. So fish will feed upstream. So it's always key to throw up and pull with the flow. Thanks for listening to Luke while we did these things right here. Hey, I just
sit here and listen because I learn the whole time too. So that's why I don't barge in. I just soak it up with the rest of the people.
Hey, I flew in all the way from Texas. I've been up since 2 o'clock this morning. Couldn't wait to do this right here. I was so excited. Like I got to see Wayne Masoko, and he's the wizard behind the curtain, at Fisherman's Warehouse. And so anyway, thank you so much for watching. We enjoyed having you.